In 1812, Napoleon Bonaparte was at the height of his power. He had conquered most of Europe, and now he set his sights on Russia. With an army of 600,000 soldiers, the world thought he was unstoppable. But this time, he would face an enemy unlike any other. Tsar Alexander wasn't afraid of Napoleon. Instead of meeting him head-on, he had a different plan: retreat and scorched earth. As Napoleon's army crossed the Neman River, heading into the vast Russian heartland, the Russian forces didn't engage. They pulled back and destroyed everything in their path: villages, crops, even entire cities. There would be no food, no shelter, no supplies for Napoleon's army. By July, Napoleon's forces reached Smolensk, thinking they would break the Russian resistance. But when they got there, the city was in ruins, burned by the retreating Russians. Napoleon's first victory was hollow, and the frustration began to grow. His army, once filled with pride and confidence, was now feeling the strain of hunger and exhaustion. Still, Napoleon pressed on, thinking that Moscow, the heart of Russia, would force Tsar Alexander I to surrender. When Napoleon reached Moscow in September, he expected to find a prize that would end the war. Instead, he found a city in flames. The Russians had abandoned it and set it on fire, leaving Napoleon with nothing but charred ruins. No surrender, no peace talks, only devastation. Napoleon had no choice but to retreat. But the Russian winter was closing in, and this time it wasn't just another battle. The cold was like a beast waiting to devour his army. Temperatures dropped, soldiers froze to death, and with no food or supplies, many starved. Napoleon's once mighty army was now fighting the land itself. The Russian army, led by General Kutuzov, didn't confront Napoleon directly. Instead, they harassed the retreating French at every step. Guerrilla warfare became relentless, picking off French soldiers and weakening their resolve. The Battle of Borodino, fought on September 5th, was one of the bloodiest of the campaign. Napoleon's forces won, but at a heavy cost. Over 100,000 soldiers were lost, and the Russian army did not break. They retreated, but they didn't surrender. And Napoleon's victory, though technically a win, didn't lead to a decisive breakthrough. With each passing day, the French army weakened, losing men to frostbite, starvation, and attacks. By the time Napoleon reached the Neman River to cross back into Poland, only 70,000 soldiers remained from the 600,000 that had marched into Russia. The campaign had been a catastrophe, and Napoleon's empire began to crumble. The Russian campaign had shown the world that even the greatest military leader in Europe could be defeated by a landscape, by a cold, and by a people determined not to bend. Napoleon had underestimated Russia, and this cost him everything.